Hello and welcome to Willow Talk once again at the end of an epic test summer. Adam Peacock here with Brad Haddin to review everything, I think, Hads, and kind of look forward as well. It's worth reviewing too because it lived up to it, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Well, it did from my end. What about yourself?
Yeah, well, Adam, I think it lived up to it and more. I thought the whole series was absolutely outstanding. It was enthralling the whole time. The crowds were amazing. Melbourne and Sydney, to get record numbers in Melbourne, we know they love their sport down there, but Sydney was sold out for 3 days. We finally got to the Bumrah'd, which we didn't think we would with the way India were playing, but we got there. And we unearthed a couple of stars. What about Scotty Boland? He just looks like every time he gets the ball in his hand, it's an event.
Yeah, especially with the Kookaburra ball, the way the wickets were, it makes you scratch your head that this guy has played as little Test cricket as he has at his age, but at least we get to enjoy some of it at the back end of his career and maybe more to come. We're going to discuss the winners and losers. We'll go through them, pick them off one by one of the Border-Gavaskar Trophy Series. We're going to revisit Hads our pre-series predictions.
Uh-oh.
Are you going to leave the room for that, or
Well,
it's not happy reading? Like Heels didn't even show up today on the basis of this. So
did she get one right?
She's got an Ashes series to. I don't know. There wasn't much that. Put it this way: you didn't both hop in the silver DeLorean in Back to the Future 2 and go and get a sports almanac to do your predictions there. We'll just leave it at that. We'll get to him a bit later on. We're going to chat to Australia's newest Test cricketer, Beau Webster. Hads, what about his? And we talked about it right after Stumps on Sunday on Extras, but far out, what an adjustment to a higher level from Big Bosef.
Mate, well, the Slugs played 50 tests. I tell you, the way he controlled the test match, mate, we've seen how much Bumrah'd dominated. Mate, he had a really clear plan. When he went out there in that first innings, it was tough conditions. He top scored. He got himself a 50 on debut. He played an unbelievable role with the ball. He caught well. He just looks like he belongs. So they're good selection headaches. When you get someone that comes in at that age, 31, knows his game, he's just ready-made for Test cricket. So, mate, that's a wonderful debut.
Yeah, and he's looking ahead to a Sri Lanka series, a 2-test Sri Lanka series. They've got one-dayer there as well at the back end of those. Quite a weird setup with the tour, but we'll look ahead to that and who might get selected, who might open the bowling, because there's a few options available, especially given the fact that it looks like Pat Cummins is not going to go with the impending birth of his second child. So I'll get through all of that. Before we really get into it, it's a New Year's, so let's just remind you of our targets on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're going for 800 Spotify ratings, currently on 782. So give us a rating and follow us along if you haven't already. We've got to get to the Murali number before we take on Sri Lanka. If you know what I mean. And on Apple, we're on 201 reviews with a target of 250. Now, keep the club cricket caps coming in to producer Sam. All the mailbag details are in the episode notes. And, of course, Hads, right now, if you're listening or you're viewing, you can see it. He's holding up the Willow Talk trucker hats, which were a real hit, the SCG test, correct?
They were a real hit. I tell you what, I only had 100 of them, and I needed about 1,000 because everyone we walked past asked for one. The Richies got one on day 2. I went over and did a bit with the Richies, and that they showed some great respect to the great man at 2:22. But yeah, the hats were
on day 2.
Then I did a bit in the members, and they were just as enthused about them as well. So I've got some more coming. The 200 I threw into the crowd. They went off, but they're very, very popular.
Yeah, because I've got a head the shape of one of Elon Musk's car inventions, I can't wear the Willow Talk trucker hat, but on day 3 I wore the Napa Valley Cricket Club hat. It's just a conversation starter. So please keep them coming in, and we love seeing it. One thing I did notice, before we get into it, Hads, one thing that I did notice about the SCG test, in every corner of the ground, I love it because it feels like the whole cricket community, be it Indian supporters or Australian supporters, come together, and there were clumps of teams, men's and women's and girls and boys, all together in uniform, some of them, especially down in SCG's version of Bay 13, where Kohli's advice was coming from on Bay 3. But it's such, and you would have got that as well throughout the 3 days, that the communal feel about the test matches, was that apparent all around Australia as well?
Yeah, it was. The crowds were amazing. Obviously they voted with their feet, but the one thing about Sydney, when I did the tea break from the members, that's where people meet once every 12 months. There was guys from Cara, Lithgow, Bathurst. They've all gone to school together. They have their reunions in the members bar, and mate, they were having a cracking time. The cricket was first class. They were loving that, but they're in there, they're catching up with family, and the feel around the whole ground was first class. I tell you what, they did give it to the Indians, and they were that happy that they got reactions out of Kohli and a few of the players. It was some good humour. It was all clean, good humour, but when they got a reaction, mate, that made the day.
I'd be interested to note how many people in the members stand cramped up after the Paddington gift when the gates open to get a seat.
That's brutal.
Later in the day. I know. That's an event in itself. They should televise it on Fox Cricket. Get Howie to call it.
Mate, they did.
The front there.
Mate, they did. I tell you, mate, and some of the back markers, mate, they were vicious. They didn't matter who was in front of them. They were running over kids as long as they got to their seats. But, mate, the crowd, as I said, was amazing. It was the SCG looked picturesque, mate. Even the pink day adds another element to the Test match. And what McGrath and all his team have done is just world class. And now they've gone from breast care nurses to they just got that big that they're covering all cancers now. So they're about to go to a new level. What he and his family do on not only day 3 but the whole Test match. It's just an amazing feel. The money they raise for everyone, and seeing people of our old man's era who go, mate, I'm not wearing a pink shirt. Who wears a pink shirt? They all had pink shirts on. They absolutely deep down loved the opportunity to put pink on.
Yeah, I was looking at 85-year-olds with their face covered in pink zinc, so it's great. And Perth did a great job with their test to start the summer. Adelaide, the day-night test went off as usual. The Gabba, not helped by rain, but people still got involved.
Yep.
The MCG test speaks for itself with the crowds that came in. So we'll get into it right now. And by the way, the summer of cricket isn't over with the Women's Ashes starting this weekend, and former Australia captain, Hall of Famer Lisa Sthalekar will join us on the show later in the week to have a look at that, and we'll get the thoughts of Lisa ahead of Australia v England, the women's side of things, leading up to that huge test match at the MCG at the end of January. But into it, with the men's cricket we've just seen, Hads, the record crowd, so 837,000 plus through the gates. TV numbers, 8 sessions average 2 million viewers on Fox and KO combined. 40 sessions average more than 1 million. I can't imagine what it did in India as well, especially that Perth test with the time zone. Great cricket, controversy, heroes, villains. It's everything you ask for with Test cricket. What now in terms of what that series means for the near future of Test cricket? It's thriving here in Australia. Do you like the idea of 2 divisions, possibly? For teams?
Yeah, this has been spoken about for some time now, and I think if you have a really close look at it, I think that 2 divisions make sense. I think especially for teams like Zimbabwe, Ireland, Afghanistan is still a building nation to build their Test cricket credentials. That they need to play more, and yes, they'll get the opportunity to play against Australia, England, but we need these big marquee series as well. We need series like what we've just seen to keep Test cricket alive. What happened over the last month was just nothing short of amazing. The crowd. So I think we do need to find a way where the best teams consistently play each other. And on the flip side to that, the West Indies and Ireland and that they still need to be developing their Test cricket. So I think it makes sense.
A promotion relegation system based on maybe the World Test Championship cycle of 2 years. Would you like to see that?
Well, I think that's one option. And I think the World Test Championship has added another dimension to Test cricket. You only have to look at South Africa, how emotional they were after their victory against Pakistan to get in. They haven't had the opportunity to play in any finals, actually, since the Com Games years ago, but I think you just have to see their reaction. It'll be interesting to see how they play against Australia, whether they can come up against this quality Australian team. But I think the World Test Championship has been a good thing for world cricket.
June 11, that Test match starts between Australia and
Are we
South
going?
Africa at Lord's. Oh, it's on the bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the bucket list. If the powers that be are listening, yeah. Our hands are up, put it that way. Our hands are up. So Jay Shah, the new ICC chair, obviously BCCI into ICC, so running things. He's set to discuss the possibility of 2 tiers, so good teams play each other twice every 3 years instead of every 4. So Australia not slated to play India in a test series again until 2027, at the start of 2027, over in India. It might make some people feel that it dilutes every series if you're going to play so often. Were you, memory serves me correctly, hopefully here, were you in that setup where we played 2 Ashes series? It felt like 5 minutes after each other.
Yeah.
You were around in those days.
Yeah, it was.
Did it feel like it diluted it for the players when you played each other so soon?
No, not one bit. It felt like a home and away season. You had the opportunity, obviously, to play in England. Then it was all fresh in everyone's mind. Imagine now if you had a 6 months off and Australia were going to India. Imagine the build-up after a test series like this. India saying,
Imagine Sam Konstas' DMs.
Well, but imagine the hype around it. Imagine the talk leading in there. The theatre would be world-class. You've got a series that was controversial at times. You had retirements. You had players getting fined. You had some quality cricket. But imagine if you could return serve and India say, okay, now we've got the opportunity to play Australia in 6 months' time in India. It'd probably be a bigger series than what we've just seen now after all the hype that has just gone up over the last month. So, yeah, I think I don't have the answer, and I don't think anyone has for some time, but I like that these conversations are starting to happen. And the ICC, by the sound of it, is going to be really proactive in what they're trying to do now. You need to keep money in the game for teams like West Indies and Afghanistan and those guys to still want to play Test cricket. Zimbabwe and Afghanistan are playing a Test series now, so we've got to find some way. So what is great about it is the conversations now are on the table. Where it lands, no one knows, but I like that ideas have been thrown up.
Yeah, Afghanistan just beat Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe a couple of days ago. So it was brought up in 2016. BCCI ended up saying no after smaller nations disagreed. As with all of these things, it's down to money. So
Simple as that.
If the funding model helps Tier 2 out of Tier 1 and the TV rights that come out of that, I think it's a chance. If that doesn't, if they just want to keep all the money in Tier 1 and nothing goes to Tier 2, I reckon the Tier 2 nations are going to have a real problem with it, and it might not get through the vote, whatever the vote is. I don't know how these things work inside the ICC if it happens. You probably don't either.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is it will come down to money. We've seen with the so-called Tier 2 nations that a lot of their players are prioritising the tournaments around the world with 2020 because it's so lucrative. But Test cricket is still alive with the top nations. We only have to look at as we said, what's gone on over the last last month. The crowds, the theatre around everything that happened. People watching, listening. There was talking points everywhere. So if they can find a way to make it work and it benefits everyone, it's got to be good for the game. So, but the one thing is, at least it's on the table now, and there'll be minds a lot smarter than us. They'll come up with different ideas and different options. Maybe the Tier 2 have their own World Test Championship, and then they get promoted up into Tier 1. I don't have the answers, but I like that it's on the table.
Yeah, have to be pro-rel. Absolutely has to be promotion, relegation. More winners. The Curators. Geez, they served up some good, interesting decks. There was no barren, like I'm sitting here in front of a sand-coloured table. Like they took the covers off on day one, and there was none of that, especially at the SCG. It was one of those, where does the pitch start and finish? But would you say that they're winners, the Curators, for serving up what they did?
Well, all you want is a contest, and that's what we got for the whole summer. We got a contest versus bat and ball. We've seen some high-quality fast bowling, obviously from the Australians, but Bumrah'd was a different league. And I think the one thing we've seen a few summers back where the wickets just got that flat, where the spectacle of the game, it wasn't a contest. It was too lopsided. So I think we found the right balance. The other thing that's made a difference is the Kookaburra ball. And there's a lot of talk about that during the summer with now that they've put an extra coat of lacquer on. If you watch really close through the Test series, there was still Kookaburra riding on the ball around 30, 35 overs, 40 overs. So the ball was still making the game a contest. And I think that's what everyone wants. So the wickets all around the country, the characteristics were great. The SCG was different, but I think they've planted new grass on that, so they're working towards that. I thought that might have actually flattened out. Probably 2.5 days in, 3, obviously the test was over, but it looked like it was going to have something in the whole time. So I don't mind the contest.
Really deep dive, actually. You mentioned the Kookaburra ball into what the Kookaburra ball since 2020-21 and the alterations to that ball has done to batting averages and strike rates. So the way of the world now is that, this is what this article is pointing to, the white ball game has kind of infiltrated how batters go about it in the red ball game, but the ball has kind of made things life very difficult for batters with, I think in 2024, the lowest strike rate in over 100 years was paramount. So it was under 50 for bowlers, strike rates, under 50 for the first time in Test history in a calendar year. Before that, it was 2018. So it was average strike rate of 48.6, wicket every 48.6. So that was that's a bit of an outlier. And also the fact that the best, like since January 2021, David Warner's average dropped from 66 to 37. Marnus went from 72 to 51. Smith from 67 to 51. And Uzi from 53 to 44. You've seen Virat Kohli obviously struggle in the last 5 years as well. I think the only batter they're saying, Zach Crawley's struggles were the subject of much debate in 2024, but he was far from alone. There were only 4 century stands for the first wicket in 53 tests played in 2024. So that's out of the time. So backing up your point, Hads, that the ball has made for more entertaining cricket, especially if you're a bowler with the Kookaburra in your hand.
Yeah, but you've also seen some high-quality batting. Look at the way Harry Brooks played over the last 12 months. The ball doesn't look like it's worrying him too much. The one thing it did for some time, it was lopsided, bat v ball. And I think now you've got a real contest. And that's all anyone can ask. So, yeah, Kookaburra have done some good things with the ball. They're constantly trying to look at technology to improve. I think they've got it right at the moment. So, yeah, onwards and upwards with that. All we want. You look at Big Bash cricket as well. Like sometimes the best games, it doesn't have to be 200 plays 201. Some of the best games have been 150 and you crawl over the line 8 down because it's a contest. All anyone wants when they go into the cricket is a contest. That's why we had the crowds like we did. We had great theatre out there between the two teams, but it was a contest v bat and ball, and things were happening. Things were moving fast. In the modern day, that's what people want to see. They want to see action. They want to see things moving fast.
More winners from the Border-Gavaskar Trophy. Reverse ram shots, they became a thing from an Australian batter, not an English batter, which is quite incredible. So Sam Konstas called in at the expense of Nathan McSweeney after a couple of tests, becomes cap number 468, and we're all watching it, that first over he faced at the MCG. Played a miss, played a miss, played a miss. All of a sudden, Hads, and you've watched a lot of this kid, so you, better than most, are well-versed in what is his regular game. How far removed from his regular game was that against Jasprit Bumrah'd?
I just think we have to sit back and understand why he came into the team. He came into the team. Selectors made a really brave call on McSweeney. He had the first 3 tests. It was hard work at the top of the order, and we needed to throw something different at India. And you just have to have a look at when Sam came out to bat at the SCG. There was a third man straight back. So straight away in their team meetings, they had to think differently. They had to make different decisions around what was going to happen because Australia threw something different at them. Will Sam play that way all the time? I don't think so. I think now you'll see a more traditional type player. But what he did, he made an impact. He made an impact straight away in the series. You've got to remember, everyone's talking about Bumrah, the GOAT. His strike rate's the fastest to 200. And we can go on for hours saying how well he is. He took the game on. He threw something at India that they didn't like, and they reacted that way. And at the other end, everyone forgot about when he came in, Uzi got 50. Marnus got back-to-back 70. Steve Smith got 100. But we're talking about a kid whose impact was so high. He influenced the result of the game. And the Ram shot, if our era will look at it and just go, whoa, because it wasn't there. But the generation coming through, this is that they practice this the same time as they practice their cover drive, back foot defence.
Yeah. It's a new age cover drive.
Yeah, it's not new. It's a skill that they're developed, and the game's got to keep developing, and you've got to keep developing with players like Sam. His impact was huge, on and off the field. In Melbourne, we've seen how he got involved with the crowd. The energy brought the whole group. But the bottom line with all of it, Adam, is we needed to throw something different at India. Bumrah was dominating the series, so his job, he probably didn't get the numbers he will in the future, but he made an impact.
Yeah, you look back through the history of Australian cricket and the way you hear stories of how rookies are meant to act when they come in, and it's along the lines of be quiet, sit in the corner, and learn, and earn your stripes, son. But Paddy and Andrew McDonald have fostered this culture of we want you to get the best out of yourself how you see fit. By the time you get to us, you should know your game pretty well. Look at Travis Head since he's come back into the team under the leadership of Pat Cummins. Look at his average, where it was as opposed to previous. So I just get the feeling that Sam was enabled to do whatever he wanted. And they obviously wanted him to try and throw off Bumrah and give him a different look. Otherwise, you just sit there and have your tummy tickled by the best fast bowler in a generation.
Yep.
But how that now looks for Sri Lanka and West Indies, now it feels like they need to manage a bit more. Like, okay, you want a career? It's probably going to have to look a bit like how you were playing more in Shield rather than ramping fast bowlers in the second over of a test match. That's how I look at it. I don't know. You could look at it differently.
Yeah, I'd imagine after any big series, there's reviews, and he'll go back and he's got some good people in his corner, and they'll assess where his game's at. Okay, is everything we've done leading into getting the pick for Test cricket? Are we on the right path there? You've got to also remember he hasn't played that much first class cricket. Like you come in and say, allow him to be himself. He's still learning. He's still learning what his game style is. And all the greats of the game, they're not finished products when you get to Test cricket. It's about developing your game, understanding what works, getting used to the environment you're training. The intensity of training at Test cricket is so much different to what we've got in state cricket. It's not even close, and that's another debate you need to have to get that gap a lot closer. But he'll go away, work on, continue to work and develop his game. He was allowed to go out and play the way he did. We got a sample size of his talent. There'll be things he'll need to work on. But yeah, we'll see a different Sam over time. We'll see him grow. We'll see him to start to understand his game. He'll trust his defence, and that's the main thing in Test cricket. He's having that. But once you've got that base, the one thing he did do, he played a team role. He played a role that was different, but we needed different. Right? Look at the way Bumrah and everyone reacted when Uzi got out.
Kohli.
Yeah, he got under Kohli's skin. Kohli was frustrated. This is
Have you seen anything like just on review, like
Yeah.
looking back at that moment? And I know we're a few weeks removed, and
Yep.
it'll become a moment in time that gets shown on all the highlights. Have you seen anything like that? Can you remember, even in grade cricket, where a 35-year-old goes up to a 19-year-old and puts a hip and shoulder on him?
No.
In third grade, out in the burbs?
No, there's a couple of ways to look at that. Kohli was frustrated with his game. He got out he came out to bat. Everyone in every commentary box would say, "Okay, Australia are going to bowl fourth, fifth stump. They're going to play on Kohli's patience," and he got out the same way every time.
8 times in a row.
Yeah, he didn't find a way, and he has in the past of problem solving. It wasn't. I think the biggest surprise. It wasn't a shock what they were trying to do. That everyone's tried to do. It's just that he fell for the same plan all the time, and it looked like on this occasion that the young kid got under his skin, and he reacted in a way that, if you sit in the change room, the first thing you would have said is, "We've got him here. We've got them. We've broken the back of India. That they've had retirements at the halfway through the series. They've used 3 different spinners in 3 different Test matches. You got a reaction like that out of Kohli. Oh, hang on a minute. We've got them in the biggest series we're playing in some time. We've broken the back of India."
Last one on Sam. Sam aside, who's the most confident debutant rookie that you've seen come into a big team? Who springs to mind? Because he feels like a bit of an outlier when it comes to that.
Yeah, we had some guys like David Warner come through in my time. You had Steve Smith come through. These guys were confident in what they could do, and that's you have to be. You've got to own your own game, mate. Take Webster. No one was more confident in what he did in his first Test match. He came out there, and confidence is about understanding your game and back in the process that's got you here. Some players can get to Test cricket and change everything and get overawed by the situation. You're talking about confidence. What we witnessed from Beau Webster was as good a debut as we've ever seen.
But that Hads is quiet confidence. Sam, I'm talking the type of bravado that he sees a girl in the corner at a bar that he kind of wouldn't mind asking on a date, so he just marches on up and goes, "What are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? You going to go out for a picnic?" Sam looks like that kind of character. Confident kid.
Mate, he won't have to walk up to them now. They'll walk up to him. Everyone will know who he is.
Scotty Boland at the other end of his career. Talking of quiet characters, this bloke, he's the most unassuming hero around in Australian sport, it feels like, at the moment. So 21 wickets in 6 innings at 13.19, if you don't mind, in keeping with his record in Test matches on Australian soil. Maiden first class 10 for at the SCG. He's got 56 wickets in 13 Tests at 17.5. Statues are popping up all around the place. MCG, SCG, parks, hospitals, high schools, swimming pools, everywhere for Scott Boland. Age of 35, nearly 36. I mean, he's a good option to have for the Ashes. Do we just put him in cotton wool until then and then wheel him out?
Spot on. There's a few Test matches till then in the West Indies and Sri Lanka, but the surface is there. You'll expect Nathan Lyon. I know he didn't bowl much this series, but I'll tell you what, he's about to bowl a lot the next 6 months. But Scotty Boland, he's just someone you want beside you every time you go out into the field. He's a great team man. He does his role. He never complains. Mate, when Hazelwood, Stark and Cummins are all fit, he just goes about his 12th man duties. You watch him before and after plays. He's getting all his work in, and nothing's too hard. But when he gets a ball in his hand and there's something in the surface, there's an event every ball. There was just, at times, India had no idea what to do. We've seen Pant come out and charge him. Other guys walk out in him and try to break up his length. But every time he bowls, he looked like he's going to get a wicket every ball. And yes, you can look at the stats and look and ask for a statue, and there's got to be a statue somewhere soon. But I listened to how the players talk about him. Everyone wants to play with Scott Boland. and you can take all the stats, everything out of the game, but when you walk out in the field, everyone wants him beside him, and that's a great trait for a man, that everyone in the team wants you around.
And another thing, one of our favourite questions here on Willow Talk, who's the nightmare in the nets? So basically anyone who's faced Scott Boland in the nets nominates him. Every guest we've had. I think we're onto something here, Hads, that maybe the selectors can just, if they're unsure about things, then they just go and do a straw poll of 20 people to face all these options in the nets and then just go with the one who's the nightmare. Because everyone said Scott Boland, he's a nightmare because he just gets the ball to move enough. And it's not doing giant things through the air or off the pitch, but it's just doing enough. And the number of bruises he's left on a back thigh is remarkable. Like guys walk out of the nets looking like they've just played paintball against him. So it's good to see him doing it to the opposition.
Well, the other thing why everyone's fallen in love with Scott Boland is because he's nearly 36 years of age. He didn't start till late, and he's had to work his absolute butt off to get the opportunity to wear the baggy green. And he plays every game like it's going to be his last. And the Australian public can relate to that. Everyone can relate to someone who's had to battle hard and finally get their moment to shine the sun and show how good he is. And the way he handles it, he just walks down to fine leg. He's got 90,000 people at the MCG wanting to be him. Every time he gets the ball, 90,000 people want to be Scott Boland. He just walks down. He's got 2 wickets in an over. He's been on a hat-trick. First over, he gets a wicket all the time. He just raises his hand, waves to everyone, says thank you. He's unassuming, but he's everyone's dream. Scott Boland is living everyone's dream.
Beau Webster too. I think he's living a few people's dreams. How he went about it, and not plucked out of nowhere. People feel like that. Your cricket fans who come in and out and maybe just pay attention over summer, like Phil Gould, the rugby league coach, media identity, general manager of the Bulldogs. He tweets when Beau Webster, where's this guy been? Well, those who know Shield cricket and the numbers he's stacked up over the last few years know exactly where he's been. Was that the prototypical development, like old school development of an Australian cricketer who's finally ready for Test cricket and ready to take advantage because of all those yards they've done at first class level?
Well, you're exactly right. He's done the hard yards in first class cricket. He hasn't just played well in first class cricket. He's dominated for the last 3 or 4 years. The last 2 years, he's been Shield Player of the Year. He's got 900 runs, over 30 wickets each year. And what's so refreshing, take the winning runs, for example. Day 3, he's hit the winning runs. Did you see the passion and his reaction?
Oh, yeah. Like he won Wimbledon.
Oh, well.
So good.
Well, he did. He did win his Wimbledon.
Yeah.
He thought this day at 31, and I debuted late as well, you think it's never, ever going to come. You knock down the door with huge numbers. You've got generational players like Cameron Green come into the team. You think, oh, well, I've missed my mark. And you look at the passion on his face. He was that pumped. He enjoyed every moment of it. And you talk about someone understanding the game. Went straight in the third slip. He caught well. He bowled outstanding in his role. He did his role perfectly with the ball. He shut down the end. And everything he did had a little bit of maturity about it, a little bit of class. He knew exactly what he did. And when he came into the to bat, it was in a tricky situation. Bumrah'd was running hot again. He was sharp. He knew his technique. He trusted. He dropped the ball at his feet. He got to the other end. He picked up length when he had to and played the square of the wicket shot, which he's known for. But it's once again everyone's reaction to a player that's worked so hard. And you talk to Huss about it as well. He knocked down the door for years and years and years and thought he was going to miss the opportunity. But in the modern day game, he's 31. He's got 5 years there now if he wants it. I think they've got to find a spot for him when everyone's back. But his story was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's the thing. Does Cam Green, when his back's better, fit in the same team as Beau Webster? I can see it, but they'll have to shuffle things around because it looks like they've earmarked Cam Green as the long-term number 4 when Stephen Smith eventually departs. If he does, I'm not sure, but they can shuffle around with the order. One thing I do know of these two in the same team, and it probably gives Australian cricket the option if Cam Green does come back, don't have to worry about him bowling and worrying about that back. Just purely batting. Beau Webster can carry the load. I wonder if in Sri Lanka he's going to be asked to bowl spin as well. Handy little option.
Well,
for Beau.
Don't be surprised in Sri Lanka, depending on what the surface is like in Galle. Last time over there, Sri Lanka prepared wickets that went through the top from ball one. Don't be surprised if Australia played 3 spinners, 1 quick and Beau Webster. He could be opening the bowling for Australia. So, Cameron Green he'll come back into the team. There's no doubt about that. But there's a spot for Beau Webster.
Tell you what, there is a spot for as well, or isn't a spot for 4th slip. If you've got Green at Gully and you've got Beau Webster at 3rd slip, there's no need for a 4th slip. Nothing will get through.
Nah, the reach will be outstanding.
Fantastic. Jasprit Bumrah, he's got to be a winner in our Border-Gavaskar Trophy winners. Is he the best fast bowler you've ever seen?
Oh, I've seen some greats. I tell you what, by the time he finishes his career, we'll be talking about him in the same breath as McGrath and Wasim Akram. Just how influential he was over the series. He's got a unique action, but take that away, his skill, the way he gets the ball to move both ways. At times, Australia dominated the series. Apart from him, he was just that good. And we made decisions to counteract how good he was because his influence on the whole series was so big. What did he get? 32 wickets at 13, a strike rate of 25 or 27 or something. But he just looked like every time he came on that he was going to take wickets. And the whole talk in every team meeting was how do we just get through him?
So you put him in a bunch with, you got to chuck Kirtley in there. Kirtley Ambrose, Wasim Akram, Glenn McGrath of this era.
Yep.
You can go back further and go into the 80s and pick out some, but Bumrah's in that league, if not on top of that league.
Oh, I wouldn't put him on top of that league. He's got a long way to go. He's got 200 Test wickets. We hope to see him for some time. But I tell you what, if he continues on the way he's going, that his name will be in all those conversations. And it was great to witness it through the summer. Like you see greatness, like we've seen Warne, McGrath, even Mitchell Johnson in 2013, and you want to watch and be a part of seeing greatness, and that's what we've witnessed. We've witnessed the greatness of Bumrah, the uniqueness of his action, and how influentially he was on every batter in the Australian team.
It's like Mike Tyson at his peak with that hook that he had.
Yep.
The Bumrah spearing in at the pads to the right-hander ball, where he's setting him up. You know it's coming. You know eventually he's going to bowl it. But it's one thing to know that eventually he's going to bowl. It's another thing to actually see it come out of the hand and do something about it. And those first two, over in Perth, perfect example on that. Was it late on the first day? It's just incredible bowling, incredible theatre. Seb on Instagram asks, is Bumrah's role in a losing side as good or better than Warnie's 2005 Ashes? I think he took 40, didn't he, Warnie, on that occasion? Both single-handedly kept their sides in the series. If it's not past it, Bradley, it's bloody close to it. Where do you put it?
I put it right up there. And to mention in the same conversation as Warnie's 2005 Ashes, that's exactly what it deserves. That's how influential he was over the series. If he's not there, Australia probably win 5-0. It was that big of big influence on the whole Test series. So yeah, mate, it was great to watch. Will we ever see anything like it? Someone dominate as much as he did in a losing team? I don't think so.
Great question, Seb, on Instagram. Thank you for
Yeah,
that, mate.
good
On
one.
the Willow Talk Instagram feed through DM, you can send us a message through there. Secret Cricket Club is still up and running, of course. Another winner from the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, rocks or diamonds, Travis Head. I'd say diamonds, especially. I think the last knock of his his body of work over the summer, where he 89, he had 140, 152, and then he had a run of outs. But the 34 not out at the SCG at a tricky situation when India were certainly vocal and enthusiastic about their prospects of coming from nowhere to win that SCG test. That was a bloody good knock from Travis, a mature one where he was happy to push singles instead of just going blazing away.
Well, the one thing Travis Head does is the bigger the occasion, the better he plays. You look at the character in the field, and we talked to him a bit here on Willow Talk. He's pretty laid back, but I tell you what, he's not laid back. And when they have the game on the line, he comes up every time. The 89 in Perth, the 140 in Adelaide, when Australia won down, the way he came out and he dominated that series. He's had a bit of a trend of late of getting tired at the back end of series, but that's more mental. But all the big moments, all the big wins Australia have been a part of over the last 24 months, Travis Head's contributed. I love the way he plays. I love when Travis Head comes out, the game can be in the balance, that you got 3 slips, a gully, bat pad, and he plays one cut shot. Everyone goes, uh-oh, here's Travis Head, and the game changes. You judge players on how they can influence a result of the game, and that's what Travis Head does. When he scores runs, he makes life for his team a lot easier, but he does it under pressure, and he does it at a speed that moves the game forward so quick. So I think he's all diamonds to me. A couple of bad scores. Well, he'd already dominated the first three test matches, and when we needed him right at the end, once again, that 34 not out just showed how well he handles pressure.
Yeah, and when you talk of pressure, when you look at Travis Head, he does it all with the demeanour of no shits given. Like, that's what he looks like. It's quite extraordinary in that sense.
Well,
a couple more winners. We'll rattle through these.
Sorry, just one more on Travis Head. You look at the Melbourne Test match where everyone was saying, oh, okay, India getting back into the game, they're a chance on the last day. Who gets the wicket?
Yeah.
Like, he just has a knack. Well, he's put his finger on ice now for Sri Lanka.
Well, yeah, I was thinking of other things. Maybe it's my mind in the gutter, but anyway, we'll leave that. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah, but in Sri Lanka, he's an option in Sri Lanka as well.
Well, that's where he's got his best figures, and when the game's not going the way it needs to, and they're throwing everything at Pant in Melbourne, he was under control. Travis Head comes on, brave decision from Paddy. Well, yeah, it is on the surface to bowl Travis Head, but they've got so much confidence in him in that group under pressure.
Some more winners, Border-Gavaskar Trophy, India's next gen, so Nitish Kumar Reddy, they found one with him, 114 in Melbourne, handy all-rounder. Jaiswal as well, second most runs in the series, 391, series top score in Perth, 161, took some really important catches as well, Jaiswal, so he's an obvious player of the future. More winners, the SCG fans who are now looking at themselves in the rear vision mirror with a trucker hat on that says Willow Talk on it. They're winners as well. They caught Hads' free giveaway there. And lastly, the trophy cabinet at Cricket Australia headquarters in the shadows of the MCG at Jolimont now holds all bilateral Test Series trophies, One Day World Cup, ICC World Test Championship at the moment. Not long ago in the trophy cabinet was the T20 trophy as well. Oh, it's so hard, this question about lining up generations. Personally, I think they're a very, very good side, just short of the great sides by virtue of the fact that there's no series win in England or India yet. And whether or not that happens with this generation remains to be seen. But what we do know, it's a bloody good era for Australian men's cricket.
Well, it's a generational team. You just have to look at the 4 bowlers, Nathan Lyon and the 3 quicks. There'll be a lot
All
of
Hall
debate.
Famers. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of debate when these guys finish. Is that the best four combination that we've ever seen? And that's going to be a great debate, because what they've done, this group together, especially this fast bowling group, is nothing short of world class. They are generational. It is a generational bowling attack. You've got Scotty Boland in there now who complements them, and you've got some greats. Or David Warner's just recently left. He could be argued as our best three-form player ever. Steve Smith, he's one short of 10,000. That takes you into a different league with Ponting and AB and Tugger. But they will be when they finish a conversation about generations v generations. So yeah, they're not finished yet. They've got an Ashes series at home that I tell you what, they'll be doing everything they can to have this group primed and ready for that.
Is it fair to say they're just behind that early 2000s team then, in terms of overall body of work?
Yeah, I think so. But I tell you what, everything that's thrown in front of this group at the moment, they've responded. They've been put under pressure at times, but they've come up all the time. You take a look at the World Cup. You thought they were gone, then you had an innings like Glenn Maxwell, and then when they really had to play some cricket in the semi-finals and finals, they showed how classy they are. So yeah, they've got a couple of things that I would imagine that they'll want to tick off, but they're definitely a generational team.
Quick drinks break here on Willow Talk. Back in a moment with our, you could call them losers out of the series. I'm going to call them non-winners, just to try and keep it a little bit positive. And also, we'll hear from Beau Webster. Had's Border-Gavaskar Trophy losers, non-winners, whatever you want to call it. It wasn't a great tour for India's superstars of veteran status. So, firstly, we saw it here with an Ashes series where a couple of English players decided to retire mid-tour. It's never a good sign on many fronts that one of your most experienced players who you'd love to have around the group, even if they're not playing, decides to pack it in halfway through a series. And that's exactly what happened with Ashwin. If we got to the bottom of it, it all seems very weird what happened there.
Well, I think the weird thing about it is they had first 3 test matches, and you're planning for a marquee series like this, he's got to be spot on point. So the first 3 test matches, they played 3 different spinners. So they've arrived here not knowing what their game style is going to be around there. It shouldn't be a shock when you get here. They've played here enough. They've had success here. So the Ashwin to retire mid-series was a funny one. So I don't think we've heard the last of that yet. I think he was just jack of not getting picked. I think he sees himself as the number one spinner. His record is elite. And he just went, you know what? I'm not sitting on the bench. If you can't decide that I'm your best spinner, I'm done. I've played enough. I don't need this. So I don't think we've heard the end of that.
Yeah, I wasn't disappointed when he wasn't picked, put it that way. I thought he was going to cause us all kinds of problems. But didn't happen. Rohit Sharma, look, he got here late. It's difficult for him. He's not been in the greatest of form. Average of 6 across the series. Says he's not retiring, but he stood down from that final test. Virat Kohli scores of 5, 100 not out. Obviously a great moment in Perth. 7, 11, 3, 36, 5, 17, 6. Supplementary is an average of 33 in 17 tests where he's going next, and that's in England. So it's not a great suite of numbers for Virat Kohli. I just get the feeling with these two guys, they retired Pujara and Rahane. They said, you're not needed anymore. Thanks very much. You've been legends, but it doesn't feel like they're going to retire these guys. They're going to make the call, which to me, in a wider sense, in any team, is a dangerous bloody place to be. Because if you've got individuals making the decision on when they're fit to retire, but they want to hang on, that's putting individual above team, is it not?
Well, they'll see with Kohli and Rohit Sharma. It'd be a big decision to tap one of those on the shoulder, especially in India. And that debate will go on for some time. What I found interesting about Rohit and Kohli and they've had tremendous success over a long period of time, is under pressure this series. At times, Marnus and Steve Smith were coming under pressure as well. They found a way out of it. Steve Smith in Brisbane, decided, okay, I'm going to take the offside out of play. I'm just going to get 100. I'm going to work my bat side off. It's going to be ugly, but they found a way to get through. Marnus did it in Melbourne and in Adelaide. It was ugly at times, but it was effective. And then in Melbourne, he got 70 in both ends. Rowan and Virat Kohli couldn't find a way out. They couldn't find a way to get out of their slump. They kept tripping over their own feet. Virat Kohli got out the same way all the time. The same way. Australia executed outstanding. He knew it was coming. The rest of the world knew it was coming. But he still got out the same way. So is that, to me, someone with a clear mind? It didn't look like that. Steve Smith proved there is different ways to get hundreds, and he's one of the best problem solvers we've seen in the game. He's got an extraordinary ability, and I haven't seen many players, if any, that can change his technique and game style halfway through his innings. He can decide to go, I'm going to go with this stance today. They're trying to bowl here. Halfway through the innings, he changes back to plan C and B. So what I seen in this series is this the two Indian champions, that they had no appetite to do anything different. Rowett stepped down. He said, I'm not retiring. He just had no answers. He just said, I don't know what to do. Australia got the better of me. Kohli knew it was coming. Outside that 100, where in Perth, when we came to the crease after the young Jaswal and Cahill Rahul had set the game up, he was unimpressive. He didn't have an answer for the high quality bowling that Australia were delivering. Yes, he's still a generational player. He'll go back and let's hope he gets things right. But to me, that there seems something that's not quite right there if you just keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah, and we're not here death riding Indian cricket. I'd personally love to see Virat Kohli go to England and score 700 runs for the series. It would be an amazing way to turn it around, an incredible story. But at the moment, I go back to that Kiwi series where he ran himself out in one of the test matches, trying to make something happen. And it feels like he's just trying to get out of a corner at the moment. And as you say, he couldn't come up with the variety here in Australia. But hopefully it does happen. Whether or not it does remains to be seen with Virat Kohli and India's veterans as well. Another non-winner, well, basically a non-event, was spin bowling over the Border-Gavaskar series. So fast bowlers bowled nearly 1,000 overs. Spin bowlers only got the ball chucked to them for about 250 overs. Fast bowlers average of 23, spin 40, strike rate for fast bowlers 41, spin bowlers 80. One thing it does, though, Hads, for me, is it keeps Nathan Lyon fresh for the real challenge, and that's Sri Lanka, where he's going to bowl about 800 overs, potentially.
Yeah, well, you can flip that on its head in the coming weeks, can't you? And, well, we've seen some great fast bowls. We obviously had the 3-4 Australians. We know how good they're going. And we spoke at the top about the surfaces have been different. There's been more in it for the fast bowlers. And Nathan Lyon at times played his role. He had to play a different role, and he's been around long enough, and he understands that his time will come again. He's got over 500 Test wickets. But yeah, this series was just dominated by fast bowling. It was good to watch. We spoke about
purely the wickets.
Yeah, the wickets. Well, that's why they weren't needed. Things were happening fast. India didn't score a lot of runs. They bowled out for 150, 180, 170, 150 again here in Sydney in the second innings. So things were happening fast, and the fast bowlers were doing the job. So don't read too much into that. That was just one of those series that were dominated by some high-quality fast bowling.
I've got a feeling Nathan will open in Sri Lanka.
Well, at some stage he will. His bowling workload will be a lot. Those wickets. In saying that, I don't think the tests will go that long. I think the surfaces will be. That'll be a really quick game. It'll be different to here, obviously with spin focus, and I think we'll see some pretty quick scoring and some different styles of scoring in Sri Lanka. But, yeah, Nathan will get his fair share. I thought Nathan was going to get most wickets. I thought he was going to be the one that
We'll get to that.
yeah held up an end, but I got that wrong. Gee, he batted well, though.
Bloody oath you did. He did, actually. That 41 in Melbourne was outstanding. WA all-rounders, non-winners for the summer, unfortunately. Cam Green injured. Didn't see him. Aaron Hardy, I thought, might have been in the frame if something happened to Mitch Marsh. In the end, Beau Webster comes in and gets the gig because Mitch, unfortunately, his form just didn't hold up over summer. Dropped after scoring 73 at 10, just the 3 wickets at 46. Took some bloody important catches, it must be said, at the MCG. But with Webster on the scene, Green to come back, is it, and we spoke of this on Sunday on Extras, but it's hard to see a clear path for Mitch all the way back, but you just want him around because I'd imagine he would have been good fun in that dressing room on Sunday at the SCG.
He would have been. And I think with Mitch, he'll be pretty content where everything's at. I think his second coming in Australian cricket, he's our current AB medalist. He's much loved in the change room, and he's now much loved with the Australian public. So we've got options now. We've obviously got Green coming back. Webster's he's earned the right to get a bit of a taste of what Test cricket's like. But I wouldn't like to see him disregarded yet. I know there was talk through the series about his body. He had a disrupted lead-in too. He was at home with the birth of his first child, so that's different too. And they're all things that you've got to work through. But I would like him available. Whether he plays or not's a different question. You need a squad available against England, and he's had some great success against England with bat and ball. So whether he finds a way back into the Test team, time will tell. But I would like to have him available next summer. Whether you go with Webster and Green, it's a taxing. It's a taxing skill being an all-rounder on your body, bat, bowl, and in the field. So, yes, we've got some options there. Will Mitch get back in? I hope he still makes himself available for now and the next Ashes.
Well, there's a lot of white ball cricket to come as well over the next 15, 16 months. There's a T20 World Cup rolling around in 2026. You'd imagine that Mitch is at the forefront of selectors' plans for that at the top of the order.
Well, the other interesting thing, whether Mitch has the appetite. He's in charge of the 2020 team. His role in one-day cricket, we know is highly valued, and he might be at the stage of his career now where he says, you know what, mate, I've had a good run. I've loved this second come in the Test team, and he might just say, you know what, I might just concentrate on white ball cricket, and no one would blink an eye if he did that. He's earned the right to make that decision, and that might be his path. He might decide that the body can't handle getting itself right for all three forms of the game, and that happens to everyone. Being an all-rounder is taxing. The demand's not only on the field, but off the field to get yourself ready, and life starts to change when you have kids. Your priorities are different. Your available time. So Mitch might make that decision himself.
Sleep patterns.
Oh, non-existent.
Grey hairs. Yeah. Diet. It all goes out the window. Anyway, we love children. Love being a dad. Openers against Bumrah'd, another non-winner. I mean, this speaks for itself. It's the greatness of Bumrah. But Aussie openers averaged 20 over the series. Khawaja 20, Konstas 28, McSweeney 14. Khawaja out 6 of 8 times v Bumrah, average 5.5 v Bumrah, average 50 v the rest of India's attack. Marnus not much better, averaging 25 with 350s. Just on, I'd point out McSweeney. What's his, like you mentioned there, Mitch Marsh, his path back. He's just, again, it's purely go and score runs, go and play county cricket perhaps, go and score runs, come back here, shield, go and score runs, and he's around the mark still.
Well, McSweeney will go away and reassess where his game's at. He's a young kid on the rise. It won't be the last time we see him in Test cricket. He had the toughest introduction to Test cricket as anyone will get. It doesn't get any harder. We're talking about Bumrah being a generational bowler that he's going to be spoken about with McGrath, Kirtley, Wasim Akram when his time's done. So he'll go away. He'll take some really good findings from this to see where his game's at, and expect when he gets that opportunity again at state cricket, I expect him to dominate. A lot of guys come out, and all the greats have been dropped. I think Huss is the only one that never has. But he'll go back now, and he'll have a hunger to get back in the Test team. The environment that he would in, he would be. It would be at the forefront of his mind saying, I want to get back there. And he's a character that'll do the work. I watched him in Big Bash last night. The way he's running around in the field, the enjoyment his teammates get from having him around. So he won't be lost. What it will be, it'd be a good wake-up call to show him, wow, that's what Test cricket's like. And these are the training standards and habits I need if I want to be successful there.
Technology, controversy around Jaiswal's glove catch when Snicko was inconclusive. The one thing I didn't like about that, Hads, is the fact that people were learning that Snicko can't put those things up or can't pick those things up when that happens. Maybe everyone should know that going in rather than finding out after a hugely controversial dismissal. Stark's close LBW against Jaiswal in Melbourne kind of got washed over with the torrent of opinion about the Jaiswal dismissal. Catches hitting the ground after slow-mo and zoomed-in vision. We're always going to have that in cricket. Were the fingers under the ball, everything like that. But, yeah, I think Snicko's a good thing. But for us to learn that you can't pick up glancing ones off the face mid-test match was a bit of a weird one.
Yeah, the question is technology getting in the way? Technology is here to stay, but what we need, you make sure in a series like this, you've got everything available because you don't want to be talking, and we're not talking about it. We had some decisions there, but they didn't alter the result of what this Test series was going to be. But when you have a Test series like this and you are going to use technology, you need everything available because you don't want to get to the end of a series and the technology have played a part in the result in the wrong way. You don't want to leave a negative effect on anyone. So what we need to do is make sure everything that we've got available, we buy and use in a big series like this. There's too much pressure.
Day 5 ticket.
There's too much pressure on umpires as well. Like if they know they haven't got all of it available, it puts too much pressure on those guys as well.
Yeah, and then they end up guessing. I didn't mind Big Jolly Wilson's call on Steve Smith.
Well, from a cricketer,
I thought he got it right.
Yeah, well, from a cricketer's point of view, yeah, it's out. Simple as that. I was talking to Simon Torfel about it during the Test match, and from the naked eye, yes, you know he's it's a clean catch, but because we do have technology and we do have to bring it in, there is a moment that it looks like it may have touched the ground, so you can understand why he made the decision. Did I agree with the decision? No, I thought it was out. I thought as a cricketer, you know it's out, and especially the way the ball popped up. But when technology comes in and the angles they have, you can understand why he gave the decision not out.
Another non-winner or loser from the Border-Gavaskar Trophy Series was the fact that if you had a day 5 ticket, unfortunately, you got it wrong. Only one test went the 5 days. Mind you, if you did have a day 5 ticket for the MCG, I reckon it makes up for the fact that not having a day 5 anywhere else. That was an incredible day's cricket. Would we rather 5-day tests on flatter wickets or 4-day tests on sporting wickets? The latter, thank you. I'd rather see a result any day of the week than something eke out to a draw.
Yeah, I don't want to see 4-day tests. I like MCG. I know it wasn't the norm through the series, but we were going into the last session of play with all the results on the table. And that, to me, was as exciting as it gets. I like that we've got 5 days. If we use them or we don't, well, so be it. But I like the Test cricket still, that unique difference of 5-day Test matches.
Tell you one thing you can tell on the Triple M Core team, you can spot the guys after day 3 when the test ends who's on the day rate and who's on the contract money.
Yes, you can.
It's
yeah,
bloody clear.
Merv hates it.
Is that why he didn't show up to the drinks and then
Yeah.
someone else who is obviously on a contract put down the card for the bar tab? So yeah. Wasn't you this year though, was it?
Can't remember. Wasn't me though, no.
It was that good a night. Oh dear. And we've got to mention it here, a non-winner, unfortunately. Well, put it this way, the winners are the people of Gaul, and how many people are going to be in the ground for Steve Smith to knock, just push one into the vacant point area to run through for his 10,000th test run, as opposed to having 47,000 people at the SCG, including every person he's ever met in his life, there to watch the great moment and he gets out. Oh, Stephen, we felt so bad for him.
Could not believe it. I could not believe it, what was happening. Well, it's not a bad number to be stranded on. He's still going all right, but yeah, from a milestone, he's grown up, New South Wales through and through. It the whole crowd for the test match, the energy was great. As we've said before, McGrath Foundation makes it. Oh my God, they're flat. It just changed the mood. It was amazing.
I was in the outer.
Yeah,
I was there, and you could feel the air just leave the vicinity.
Yeah.
Apart from the Indian fans who went off their brains, and fair enough too when you get Steve Smith out, but everyone knew. Like there was nothing on the scoreboard of how many runs he was. Like everyone had done their sums. They knew what he needed. They knew what the moment was going to be. They were all at the ready to get up and cheer, and half the crowd, obviously, the modern day, film it on their phones because that's what you want, a picture of an ant holding their bat up. I mean, why don't you just enjoy the moment? But, yeah, it was just so flat for the next 10 minutes.
Well, I was in the members bar at the time.
Were you in the members bar?
Yeah, and everyone was glued to the TV. You know, in the members, half
the ones that didn't win the Paddington gift, they had to stand up all day in the bar.
But that's where the true test match is. The stories in there, the catch ups, and you normally have different groups standing there and enjoy, not even watching the cricket, catching up on what's going on the previous 12 months. But everyone was glued to the television, and they didn't know what to do. They actually didn't know what to do when he got out. Like everyone sort of looked at each other and went, no, let's just have that over again. Let's get one more run and we'll get on with it. So, mate, he's a great player. He's a good sport, Steve Smith. But the theatre there was I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy it actually. I didn't like it. And they haven't had a bit to do with him. I didn't enjoy it. It sucked.
No, I don't think he did either.
No,
somehow. Anyway, life goes on. He'll get it in Sri Lanka, and we'll all celebrate. And we'll pay homage to him here on Willow Talk when it does happen. Predictions recap.
Thanks for the show, everyone. It's been great talk.
Okay. Correct answer is obviously Australia 3-1. Healy, Australia 4-1. Rain in Brisbane stuffed her up. Haddin, 3-0. You were gone after Perth, unfortunately.
Well, Perth's always been calling to be its own country. They want nothing to do with us in COVID, so I'm not taking that. That test doesn't even count.
Most runs, Travis Head, 448. Healy, Uzi on 184. Not quite. You, Alex Carey, your wicketkeeper bias crap coming through right there, 216. Not even halfway to his South Australian mate. So got that one wrong, Hads.
Well, my theory was right. I thought Bumrah'd was going to be hard in the back end of the game. But, wrong South Australian there. Well,
I thought you were going to say, I got a South Australian left-hander, so I should get half a point there.
Well,
no.
Maybe that might be a misprint. I'm going to go back and check that because that's weird that I said that's South Australian.
It wasn't a misprint. Most wickets, Bumrah, obviously, 32. Healy, Josh Hazlewood, 6 at 13. He was going okay until the side strain kicked in, and, that was the end of him. Nathan Lyon barely got a bowl, 9 wickets for the series. So just a little bit short, 23 in fact. Jasprit Bumrah. And player of the series, Jasprit Bumrah, 32. You were close here. I think Paddy was thereabouts with Travis Head from an Australian perspective. Pat Cummins, 25 wickets and 159 very valuable runs for Pat Cummins. And Heels, she was completely biased. Josh Hazlewood as well. 6 wickets for Josh.
I could argue that Paddy should have been joint player of the series.
But he wasn't, so you were wrong.
Good point. Took something special to beat me, though.
Now time for a special chat. One of the heroes of the SCG test, Beau Webster, caught up with producer Sam.
Joining us now is producer Sam, me, and Australia's newest test cricketer, Beau Webster. Beau, thanks for joining us, mate. Sum up the week. Give us your best.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, no doubt. It's been a big week. One that I probably wasn't expecting or could ever dream of. But no, very happy the way it played out, and couldn't ask for much more on debut.
It's amazing because I look at you, Beau, and no disrespect here, but you're one of us. You are one of us. You're 31. Feel like you battled your way through to get to this position, and you come out and you absolutely brain it in your first test. Let's go back to when you were told. Mitch Marsh told you, the guy that was getting axed, told you that you're going to get picked.
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward one, or funny one, I should say. We were both unsure on what was happening on the morning before the game, and yeah, he sort of went and found the selector after we realised I had a selection meeting, and he found out first that he was obviously missing out, and then he was in the change rooms, and I walked in, and he sort of just had a big smile on his face and said, "You're in," and good luck, and gave me a big hug, and couldn't have been happier for me, which obviously speaks volumes of the big boss, and he's a great bloke to have around the rooms, and he was super supportive, which was great.
What were your first emotions when you got told that? Did you feel like you had to change it all? Did your demeanour change? Did you think, right, I'm going to be a test cricketer? I heard you weren't going to have a hit, and you thought, I better have a hit now.
Yeah, well, I actually wasn't gonna train that day. It was an optional session, and I hadn't heard anything, about the team, so I just assumed that they were going to go in unchanged into that last test. And I sort of looked on the WhatsApp group, and everyone had replied to the message saying they're training. So I sort of thought, I better go and show my face and help out the lads and throw some balls or something. And then when Big Bice told me they were having a selection meeting in the morning, I was a bit shocked, and then when I got the news, it was straight on the phone to my fiance and mum and dad and trying to get all that sorted. But then I did also hit some balls that morning. I'm not a massive ball hitter in the nets anyway, especially in between games. I like to stay pretty fresh and top up here and there. But no, I had a little 15-minute hit, and it was sort of into my preparation as I would for a Shield game. Nothing changed, which was nice.
At that point, you're just thinking, don't roll an ankle, don't do a hammy, just preserve yourself so you can get across the line for that first day.
A little bit. I think all those things go through your mind where, anything that can go wrong, you try and steer clear of. But no, it was once I did find out that I was going to play, it was, about getting my prep in, and what I have done for the last few years, it's held me in good stead, is make sure I tick that off and then sort of enjoy the moment. I remember coming back to the hotel room and saw Maddie, my partner, and, she was over the moon, and, made a few phone calls that afternoon together, and went and got a haircut as well in Bondi, which was tough in there around that time of the year, but managed to find one and got it done. It was a good afternoon, one that I'll never forget.
What was the best phone call? What was the happiest phone call you made?
Oh, no doubt the one to my partner Maddie, or the one to my old man. They were both on par. It was she's been with me for 6 years now and seen a lot of highs and lows in the last couple of years, and had to put up with me being a grumpy when I'm not scoring runs or carrying on too much when I am. So she was excellent. And then just to my old man as well. He's obviously sacrificed a hell of a lot, as most dads do when they're cricket mad sons are growing up and throwing thousands of balls in the nets, and travelling from Snug to Border-Gavaskar to take me to training for youth pathways and things like that. So he was over the moon, and he couldn't have jumped on the plane quick enough. I think he's actually probably done more media than me, the old boy. He's been on Channel 7 and radio and everything, and he thinks he's a bit of a hotshot now around the place. So he's been good, and he had plenty of beers throughout the test, and we had a beer together after it, and he couldn't have been prouder. So it was great to have him there for not just the cap prezzo, but to have all of them there throughout the game was awesome. And I think I actually spotted him up in the grandstand when I was on about 20, so it gave me a little bit of comfort just to know that they were there. And it was just like a Shield game, except he was a bit harder to spot with 40,000 there as opposed to 40 people at a Shield game.
Did he have the same number of beers under his belt?
I reckon he might have had a total of that over the week. He was he had my uncle there as well, and those two don't mind a schooner, so they were tipping together throughout those 3 days. They bloody enjoyed themselves, which was good.
Mark Waugh presented you your cap. Normally, there's a pretty clear link. I didn't see it. I thought, Watto, Tasmanian all-rounder, maybe something like that, or punter, Tasmanian great. But Junior, did they explain the link there, or did they just get one of the greats of the game to give you a cap?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the selection for a cap prezzo works, but June was there and he was really nice actually. He said he wasn't gonna talk for too long and keep it short and sweet, and I think he ended up going for 10+ minutes. But he was excellent. He said some really kind words, and addressed my family who were in the huddle as well, and talked a little bit about his own career and whatnot. But he was good, and I was very chuffed when I saw him. Had my bag in his hand, and everyone around the circle for him to present it. It was great, and it's something I'll definitely never forget.
For sure, for sure. India win the toss. They bat first, so you're in the field for your first time wearing the baggy green. Take a couple of good catches, Beau. Was that? How were the nerves? I remember you saying you're not a big nerve guy, but like you got that first catch out of the way, your first involvement in an Australian Test cap. What was that like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I wasn't actually that nervous throughout the week. I think I was more nervous in Adelaide when I got added to the squad, and your first training in and amongst those test guys and first fielding session and whatnot. I reckon I was a lot more nervous there than I was actually playing. So it was nice to be around the squad for a few tests before I actually debuted in the team. But yeah, it was nice to win the toss and bowl. It was obviously a pretty conducive wicket to seam bowling, which helped my little medium pacers nip around a little bit on day one, which is always nice. If it was a traditional flat SCG, low wicket, I might have looked pretty pedestrian on there, but it was nice to have a bit of bounce and carry and seaming around, which fitted into my skill set beautifully. And then, to get a couple of catches away early. Everyone says you're more nervous about fielding than you are batting and bowling. You don't want to let anyone down. So, no, to hang on to a couple of them, and we were pretty close there as a slip cordon, which was made it a bit tougher. But no, to be able to hang on, it was a good feeling. I remember taking that first catch; it went in pretty cleanly, and I was up and about.
Yeah, the Curators done you favours there by producing that green spicy wicket. But you played in the Shield game against the Blues not long before that. Was that wicket much different? And you did quite well in that game.
Yeah, I actually said that to a couple of boys. I reckon they were pretty similar, in terms of the surface. I just think that obviously when you go up a level, we've got three blokes at 6'5" plus bowling faster and harder into
Yeah.
the wicket, and likewise with the opposition. So I think the wicket probably did a bit more just based on the quality of the attacks. But yeah, it certainly was a tricky one. Sometimes you got a couple of balls that you couldn't do much about, and you just hope it didn't take an edge or castle your stump. So no, I'm used to playing on some quite seam friendly wickets, especially at Bellerive, and come in plenty of times at 3 or 4 for not many. So it didn't feel too foreign, but it was nice to get a first run away in the first innings, and then it sort of felt like it was business as usual after that.
I was going to say, back in the day, the number six would come in at 4 for 250, 4 for 300, and the bowls are spent on a flat wicket. You've come out at 4 for 39 in the 12th over. Jasprit Bumrah'd, considered one of the greats of all time now. What was that like? Well, I mean, you don't feel the nerves, but what was going through your mind walking to the crease?
I'm not really sure. I think I was just focused on getting my routine ready to go. I suppose there's a lot of external noise when you walk out in a test. There's 40,000 there. Everyone's dressed in pink for the Jay McGrath Day, and it's a bit surreal when you're sort of walking out the middle to meet Steve Smith, who's arguably one of the best players Australia have ever had.
Yeah.
And then there I am, sort of walking out at number six against the best bowler in the world, and it was a little bit of a surreal moment. But I got through the first couple of balls, and I was, got off the mark, and then it felt like I was in the contest, and I pride myself on getting in the contest and trying to contribute in all facets. And like I said, to be able to take up the catches earlier on and then get a few runs, it was real pleasing.
57 on debut, batting with Steve Smith, as you said. What was the chat like with him?
Yeah, he's a bit of a different character, Smudge, when he's out there. I think me and him are probably a little bit different in the way we go about our preparation and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's about getting in the contest and trying to contribute. And he was really good. It's quite nice to see Steve Smith at the other end. Just he's one of the best batsmen in the world, and plugging away there. I am at the other end, but it is comforting. Obviously got Alex Carey coming in behind, who's been fantastic as well. So there's plenty of confidence there that we're going to be able to get some runs and try and get up close to their total. But it was a surreal feeling a little bit. But then once I did get into it, it just sort of felt like it was another game, and I just tried to do the best I could.
Yeah, good. India take a 4-run lead into the third innings, the second innings of the game. Then Rishabh Pant starts going nuts. What's going through your mind? I mean, you've played a lot of big bash cricket. You would have seen this kind of stuff. But at test level, was there any fear that this game's getting further away the longer he bats?
Oh, no doubt, absolutely. He changed the game in a matter of overs there when he just started to push the button, and he was batting like T20. I think he was 60 off 30 for a bit there, and I was sort of running into bowl, and I was praying that he was going to hit one up the chute, because there still was plenty of seam movement, and it was nipping around a bit, but it just didn't seem to worry him. He hardly missed the middle of the bat still, and had come out mid off just saying, keep hitting the top of off, and the wicket will still be doing plenty. And after 2 or 3 boundaries, it's a bit like, Jesus, should I try some slow ball or something here? Because I felt like it was just disappearing everywhere. But I think it's a little bit of comfort there when they're sort of smacking the big boys at bowling 145 Ks. He's still finding the middle and going over the rope. So it was. I think we were lucky to get him out. I think he Q-ended or towed a cut shot from Camo, and it felt like that was a huge wicket in the context. We were able to slow the board down a lot after that, and been able to mop up that next morning and then get batting. So he's a dangerous player, and some of those shots, I said to a few of the boys, I said they're probably some of the best shots I've ever seen in a game of cricket live. He was remarkable.
So you can look at Cummins and start and go, guys, mate, if you can't do it at 145, what am I supposed to do?
I think I said that to one of the boys in the slips. I said, Jesus, this is like Starkey's been hit a couple of times here. Camo has found they found the boundary off Camo, so there's a little bit of comfort there. No, that I'm not the only one going the journey, but it felt like it was a matter of time, before he made a mistake. Just on that wicket, it would have been pretty hard just to keep going, and luckily we got him out, because I think if he batted another half an hour there, it might have been game over.
Well, you don't have the scars of Ben Stokes doing it to you, so those guys might have been having some flashbacks.
True.
Tricky little run chase, but no Bumrah in that final innings, and you come to the crease and bat just as you did, took off where you left in that first knock. I actually remember watching it going, I've never been more confident in a debutant striding to the crease with a little tricky run chase out there the way you batted in that first innings, and you hit the winning runs. You've spoken about it, but just that moment. And am I right in saying that whatever that ball was going to be, it was either out or the boundary to win the game?
Absolutely. No, it was good. I was counting down the runs a little bit in the sheds. Sort of when it got under 100, I was pretty confident that, we're going to get one partnership here and it'll get the job done. And I was sort of thinking that I'm a massive chance to be there at the end here if I can get in and get past a tricky spell early on when they're obviously, we were 4 for 100 maybe, or 4 for 90 when I came to the crease. So if we could get through that initial little burst, it felt like I might be able to be there at the end. And what Trav's like, he's always going to play his shots out there, so it was comforting having him at the other end, and managed to get through it. And then it sort of just took off from there. It felt like I was picked off from the first innings. I feel like I've been batting well for a while and seeing the ball nice and early, and moving accordingly. So it was an absolute fairy tale, I suppose, to use the word, where it was, they needed 8 off the last over and managed to back foot punch 1 for 4, and then there was 2 balls left, and I thought, I don't think I'm ever going to get another chance here to win a game with a boundary for the country in a 5th and deciding test. So, I ran down the wicket. Initially he was going to try and hit it for 6, and it actually dropped a little bit on me shorter, and still managed to get a good piece of it through mid-off. And, I carried on a fair bit there when I looked at Trav, and he was going off, so I just sort of matched his energy. But it was a special moment, no doubt. I'll never forget that.
Unreal. Just looking at the stance and your bat, you're obviously a very tall guy. I'm no cricket expert, but I see similarities of you and KP. Maybe it is just the height. Kevin Peterson is. Have you modelled your game off anyone in particular? The shots and the stance and the setup all look similar, but is that just is that just part of being 2 meters tall?
Yeah, I think there's definitely parts of it as being a tall batter that you can't relate to some of the smaller guys. I think it's a bit of a different game, especially being 2 meters tall compared to someone who's, 160, 170 centimeters. There's different bounce angles and things like that. And I think the bowlers probably bowl a little bit differently, but a little bit. I think I sort of grew up watching KP, and he was always a bigger guy, and he had a quite a wide stance, and I think it just makes sense that the taller you are, you've got to be able to spread your weight so you're still balanced at the crease. If me and him stood there with our feet together like some of these littler guys, we're going to topple over to the offside. So it's a bit of common sense, but it's about being balanced at the crease, and being a big guy, it does come with its challenges. I know early in my career I really struggled with falling across the stumps and getting hit on the pads a lot, and I've sort of tried to adapt a trigger and a bit of a pre-movement to combat that and line up a bit better. So everything I've done over the journey is just been trying to improve and give myself the best chance to score runs. I've always felt like my defence wasn't the best part of my game, so I had to try and get the ball, away from a forward defence, and I think in doing that, it's actually really improved my forward D. And being able to get through the balls that are on the stumps that were getting me out, and being able to score when the ball was away from them, which is a pretty simple game plan, but it's one that's worked for me for the last 2 or 3 years.
Don't change it, Beau. Don't change whatever you're doing, mate. You've dominated Shield cricket the past 2 seasons, 31. This is considered the prime of a cricketer's career. But did you think that maybe that chance wasn't going to come? Because you see a lot of guys churn out the runs and take a lot of wickets in domestic level and don't quite get there. But for you, did you think that might have passed? And then when you got there, did it make you think, I know my game sort of inside out when I do make that next step?
Yeah, no doubt. I think I sort of changed my whole game plan a little bit when I locked down a number 6 position and, started bowling medium pace. I sort of came up with a game plan that I was going to be a bit more attacking and try and, hit the bowlers off their length, as opposed to being a bit more of a grinder. Whereas, in the front part of my career, I was batting at the top of the order on some dicey wickets, and, my defence was getting tested a lot more, and I was pretty inconsistent. I was always, was sort of a 1 or 2 hundreds a season kind of guy, but in between that, there was a lot of low scores. So I tried to pride myself on being a bit more consistent. And when I went down to that number 6 position and started bowling it, it sort of happened naturally a little bit. You obviously get a bit better batting conditions the lower you go, so that certainly helped. And you're a bit of a victim sometimes of the top order success. If you're batting on a dicey wicket and they manage to get through and take some shine off the ball, it can be a hell of a lot easier for us middle order batters to bat, when the bowlers are coming back for their second and third spell. So I suppose a lot of credit has to go to our top order and getting through some of those spells and give me the best chance to do what I do down the order. But yeah, once I sort of nailed down that game plan, it was good, and I found myself being a lot more consistent. And then I suppose I never really thought about national selection at all until, I got picked for that Prime Minister's 11 game last year, and I sort of looked at the squad they picked, and it was probably really an Australia A team. There was 4 or 5 test players in there, with another 3 or 4 like in the mix for the first test of the summer. So that was the sort of first inkling where I said that, I'm actually probably not that far away from playing for the country. I think you can plug away in first class cricket and have a few low scores and think you're a million miles away. But on the other end of that, you string a couple of good months together and, right time and whatnot, and all of a sudden you're getting talked about playing for your country. And I suppose it never really hit home until the end of the year, and sort of what I'd achieved in those 10 Shield games last year and into a Shield final, and then started the year with some more runs that kind of felt like it was pretty attainable. And then, the Aussie A games managed to perform well there, and it just felt like I was in a really good place, and like you said, knew my game inside out at the moment. And hopefully it can continue for a long time. I'm certainly not prone to a low run of scores. I'm sure that's going to come, but I think I've got enough experience now where I'm not going to change my game or overhaul it completely just because I've had a little bit of a form slump.
It's a great lesson to any cricketer plugging away, that if you just keep putting runs on the board and take your chances, that eventually the opportunity will come, and it's up to you then to take that opportunity. At the other end of the scale, Sam Konstas, who's 19, played a handful of first-class games. My question is, though, his Instagram followers went up about 30,000%. Have you had the same sort of increase? Have you got another 200,000 sitting in your account now?
Certainly don't have 200,000. I think they the reverse ramping on day one of a Boxing Day test and the confrontation with Virat was the two
Yeah.
catalysts that shot him up to 200k. But no, it's the Instagram following certainly increased, but not to that scale. He was he's an overnight sensation there with what he did on that morning of Boxing Day test, and he's a very talented player, and I think he's going to have a long career for Australia. He's going to have to come up with there's going to be some challenges, no doubt, with how he started and whatnot,
Yeah.
but I think he's got all the tools to figure it out. And, he's going to be a wonderful player. He's got all the talent in the world. And, I wish him all the best. He's going to be, a mainstay of that test team, I think, in the future.
All right, let's get to the question every listener wants to know. The celebrations. Blow by blow account, please, Beau.
The Sellies they're a funny one. Obviously, you've got all the media and the things you have to do straight after the game. So you sort of, I was itching for a beer there for the first hour after the game and had to do, Channel 7 into ABC and then up on stage and things like that. And then, when finally you get your hands on a beer, all the families come in and, I had to organise my old man and that and just come into the rooms and, top him up with another beer, which he certainly didn't need. But it was once that all settled down and all the families left, we sang the song and then we sat in the SCG members bar for a few hours, just everyone in their whites, their baggy on, and just they're all reminiscing about the series and what's happened and whatnot. And I sort of just took it all in there. It was a really good few hours. We actually had Jordan Silk, who was, I think he'd been to the test for 2 or 3 days. He was, on a bit of a bender, the great man, and he was just in the members when we finished, and we managed to get him in the change rooms, and he was with us. Him and Benny Manenti, obviously playing for the Sixers, so they were in there.
Yeah.
They were in the members bar with us, and he's been a great mate of mine for a long time. We captain and vice captain of the state down here, and we have a lot of chats about cricket. So out of anyone who was super proud of me, he was right up there. So it was good to have a couple of beers with him. If you can remember that, he was a bag of spanners by the time we left, but he was good value, and it was a hell of a night. I think we ended up at another pub and had a few more, but it was a tough morning the next morning, but well worth it.
And you had to front up and do the press at the airport. So hats off to you, Beau. Where'd you sing the team song? Where and when did that happen?
We sung it in the members bar, in the SCG members bar, after all the families moved and after we had a couple of beers. We sort of huddled around there, and Gazza does what he does in the middle and goes through the game and the series, and then I don't know if this is a long-standing tradition or if something Hetty's just made up in the last couple of games. But if you win your first test, or whenever you get your first test win, you have to sing a song in the middle of the of all the staff and the players. So I did a bit of Shannon Noah, What About Me? Which I don't know. I don't even know if Hetty was just making this up, but we went along with it. I saw Sammy did it at the MCG, and Nathan McSweeney had to do it at Adelaide, so I certainly couldn't pull out of it. I think it was about 40 seconds of butchering Shannon Noah, and then we're into the song. So it was a good moment.
What did those guys sing?
Hetty reckons he sung his years ago, but I think he's just lying to me. I reckon he's just made it up. He just wants to try and embarrass someone in the circle, make them feel awkward.
What did Sammy Konstas sing?
Oh, Sammy. Sorry, I thought you said Hetty. Sammy sang Sweet Caroline. He did, and
nice.
he did a good job. He actually did a good job of it. He was he's a pretty confident man. There was certainly no nerves there from him at all.
That's outstanding. Did you know the words to the Aussie team song?
I know. Yeah, I do. Yeah. It took me a little bit, but once you sing it, it's not a very long song. Once you get it, you got it down pat, I think.
First verse, same as the first. Second verse, same as the first, right? So it's
That's it. Yeah.
It's not too bad. And what about
No.
the Snug Tavern? I imagine that would have been.
Yeah, the Snug Tav's had a good run, hasn't it, these last couple of days?
Have you heard any stories from it being packed down there and everyone watching along?
I got a couple of photos sent through. Some boys had the cricket on in the background with a couple of beers and playing pool or whatnot down there. But hopefully they've got some money over the bar in the last 3 days with the cricket on there. I've had plenty of support from a lot of mates that I grew up with down that area. A lot of boys I played footy with down there have all sent through their congratulations and things like that, which is really nice. You haven't spoken to a few of them in a lot of years, but it's nice to hear from them. And wish me all the best. So, no, I'm sure they turned over a few kegs at the Snug Tab on my behalf.
It's funny you say that because my next question was going to be, what was the most random message you got over the past week from someone you may not have heard of in many years, but you may have already answered it?
Yeah, I don't know. I still haven't got back to everyone. My phone's been busy last, 48 hours, but I'm slowly getting back to everyone. I don't really know who the most random message was, but the Collingwood Football Club commented on the post I put up, which is probably my biggest one I'm chuffed with. I'm a massive Pies man, so it was good to see them following along. Even though I probably will shift my allegiance to the Devils when they come in a couple of
Yeah.
years, but always a big Pies man, and we'll definitely follow them still when the Devils come in.
Imagine if Buck sent you a message.
Yeah, Bucks would be pretty. Chris Fagan, a fellow Tasmanian, he sent me a message,
Oh,
which
yeah.
was nice actually. We've got a couple of Lions boys in the Tassie squad, so I showed them the message and they were pretty chuffed.
There you go. A couple more before we let you go. Was there anyone in the Aussie setup that you didn't know really well coming in, and maybe your perception changed with them having got to know them a little bit better?
I wouldn't say my perceptions changed of them, but there was a couple of guys, that you don't see too much throughout the Shield fixtures. Obviously, Steve Smith and Camo, they don't play a hell of a lot of cricket for New South Wales with their schedule. So that they were probably two that I hadn't really spent a lot of time with. I'd hardly played against Camo. I think I might have played against him, 2 or 3 times in one day fixtures. And Smudge maybe once or twice in a Shield game here or there, but hadn't really had a hell of a lot of time with him, and ended up playing a fair bit of golf with Smudge, and I think I got on with him really well. He's a bit of a different cat with some of the stuff that he's got going through his head, but I really enjoyed his work over the 4 tests. I think he was one that I ended up probably gravitating to a little bit, and just I like hearing him talk about cricket and his theories and things like that. It's good fun, and obviously standing next to him in the slips as well. So I did have plenty of time with him in the golf cart and in the slips. So it was he was probably one that I really enjoyed, and I'd love to play a bit more cricket with for sure.
Interesting cat is a good way to describe him. He calls a lot of people pelican, or maybe he did when I was around him, but I think that might sum him up as well. Uh, I guess SL Tour, Sri Lanka Tour coming up now. We don't know when that squad's been named. Sounds like it's going to be a big one. Have you heard anything yet? Are you just knuckling down now? What's the plan for the next couple of weeks?
No, I haven't heard anything. I'm sure they're going to pick it this week, I reckon, and let everyone know. It's a bit of a weird one. He's sort of, I've had a reasonable debut, and if there was another test in Australia, next week or whatever, I'd be fairly confident that I'll be there. But they're heading to Sri Lanka, where it's going to be spin friendly. There's 2 tests there leading into the Champions League, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the squad there with the spinners, and some players that spin that are really well known for being good players to spin. But I really hope I am there. It's going to be another challenge if I am, but one that I'd love to take on. And I hope I do get read out when they do announce that team. And then there's obviously the whole Cameron Green, big dinosaur green hole coming back in to try and fill as well. So I'm not sure where I stand in terms of another all rounder there, but he's he's obviously been a wonderful player for Australia as well. And I heard Mitch Marsh joke about, they're just going to keep the seat warm for Greeny while he's out, it does feel a little bit like that sometimes when you got such a generational talent of him on the sidelines at the moment, rehabbing his back. But at the moment, I've got home for a couple of days. I'll head back to Melbourne tomorrow to join up with the Stars. But I'll just take each day as it is. If I get picked in Sri Lanka, I think I'll have the game to be able to perform and contribute over there. So hopefully I do get the nod, and get a couple of more tests under my belt will be nice.
Mate, those early career offies are going to come back and pay dividends on this tour. Who would have thought?
I know. Well, yeah, I don't know if I do get the nod on the tour, I don't know if they'll be required. It's actually quite nice having a few other part-time spinners in Travis and Marnus can bowl his leggies in there that I reckon they'll go to before me. But no, if they're required, they're certainly still there. They don't get any. I don't think they get any worse part-time off spinners. They actually get better with the less you bowl them. So they should be good to go if called on.
You got to put the finger in ice, mate. Ice it up. That way you'll be ready to go. And if Greeny comes back, I mean, both of you in the same team will provide outstanding flexibility with fast bowling. We were even talking about maybe you don't play a specialist quick because then you've got 4 really tall fast bowlers in the team, and you can only need 2 slips. Put you guys in there and you cover about 5 positions.
I did cough a bit of that this week from the boys saying, imagine me at third slip and Greeny at gully. So there's not going to be much room in between us there. We'll be reaching out and touching hands there. So it'll be two big boys in there. But yeah, I said to him, I'm not sure you might not see it. You know, we do both play a similar role, being the all rounder. But yeah, who knows what they're going to do with the makeup of the team when he's fit. It's sort of pretty hard to try and forecast. But you know, I'd love to be there, and you know, hopefully I've shown that I have a bit of worth for that Australian team, and if I can stay there for as long as I can, I'll be chuffed.
Well, let's not worry about the future. Let's stay in the present, because Beau Webster, right now, you are an Australian Test cricketer and an incumbent, and you did such a great job on your debut. You're a fan favourite here on Willow Talk, and can't thank you enough for jumping on and have a chat. Really appreciate it, and we really want to see you go well. So thanks again, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. Pleasure being on here. Thank you.
Yeah, the Snug Tavern, Hads. I reckon that was a place to be across that SCG test.
Well, I'll tell
The
you
fun
what.
thing on TripAdvisor is about Snug. You look in TripAdvisor about places to go in Snug or to have a beer. Usually with TripAdvisor, 10 things come up. There's only one, the Snug Tavern. So, yeah. You reckon there's going to be a Beau Webster bar there if there's not already?
Do you reckon he'll ever have to buy a beer again?
I
There.
wouldn't have thought so. Would not have thought so. Good 12 months coming up for him. If even more, given his form there. The Sri Lanka tour had, so the team heads to Dubai for a training camp before the test on January 29, then the second test February 6. Both matches in Gaul. A few changes from the last time we were there in 2022. So it was Usman, Warner, Marnus, Steve Smith, Travis Head, Cam Green, Carey, Stark, Cummins, Lyons, Swepson. So Mitch Swepson doesn't look in the frame because Todd Murphy, Matt Kuhneman and Peter Hanscom, I don't know if you noticed them at lunchtime in the SCG test, but a few of them are out there running shuttle runs, 75-metre intervals. Look like great fun while everyone's enjoying themselves having a beer. But they train with the Australian team at the SCG. So that's the indication that they're, as mentioned, Pat Cummins unlikely to go for the birth of his second child. How does our batting lineup look like, in your opinion? Like, they've called in Pete Hanscom, the South Asian specialist in terms of playing on those decks. Last seen an Australian set up for the most recent India tour test matches. Does he come in? Or do you think what we saw at the SCG is pretty similar to what we'll see?
No, I think Travis Head will open. When we've had success in India of recent time, or played our better cricket, Travis Head went to the top of the order. Usman plays spin well, so he'll be there. So I'd expect Travis Head to be there. Marnus, Steve Smith, they're obvious choices. You've got Beau Webster. The other interesting selections would be Kuhneman, when he came to India, did a great job. He did a wonderful job, and you need a left-arm spinner on that tour. So I'd expect he'll be there. Murphy also at times played with Nathan Lyon. They were two different bowlers, and I thought the way Australia used them was high class. You've got Nathan, who can do all roles now. He's just a genius of his craft. He's mastered how to bowl in the subcontinent. But Murphy's a different spinner too. He goes under the ball. He skids it. On
that, Hads,
yep,
that's important on those decks. Is that you see Ravi Jadeja, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, a number of times on Willow Talk, that he just bowls the ball and he doesn't know what it's going to do, but he just lets it go and puts that side spin on it, and things happen off the deck. The deck does the work. So Kuhneman and Murphy are those type of bowlers?
Well, they keep the stumps in the play, and they're not big turners of the ball, but over there you got to use your accuracy. But they got to go up the stump. Some balls skid, some don't. So the one thing they do really well, they keep the stumps into play. I reckon a bolter for this tour is Cooper Connolly.
Cooper?
Yep. Yeah, I do. I think
a Brad Haddin bolter. We're going to get a sign made up for this. The Brad Haddin bolter for this series is...
Well, I'm not sure. Well, I am sure what wickets they'll get, but I'm not sure how extreme they'll be. You remember you're playing the test match at Gaul, the two tests at the same venue. So depending on how the game will go, and Sri Lanka will think the best way to beat Australia is not an extreme spinning wicket. So it might from day one, we've seen it over there before, just go massively through the top. So the games, I'd imagine, won't. They'll move fast. You'll need a different style, and you might have one fast bowler, depending on what the second test looks like on the surface. So you need options. So say a Beau Webster, for example, he might not play he might not be in that team. You might play a Cooper Conley only on conditions. You might need a few left arm orthodox. You're going to need options there, and he bats well to spin also. So I know it's a bit left field, but Peter Hampskin, I think, will be there. I think he'll play a role in the middle order. He's someone we normally call in when there's a subcontinent tour, but I think Cooper Conley could be a dark horse on that tour.
Why?
Well, one, he plays spin well. He bats well, and he moves the game. And you're going to need guys that score. But his left arm orthodox, part-time left arm orthodox, is effective on those wickets, and it might just add some balance to the team. Like these surfaces might be extreme. So, yeah, do they take Sam? If Sam's not going to play on that tour, and you're going to open with Travis Head, is it better that he stays back here and plays Shield cricket for his development?
Surely you take him for the experience if he's going to be around the group for a while.
Well, or is it a better development that he's here playing state cricket? And
what would you do?
Well, it depends where he is in their plans. They'd have a plan on what they're going to get. They would have done. They would have had a recce, and they'll know pretty much what they're going to get over there. And if Sam's not going to play, do you leave him back and play Shield cricket? Or there's the other side. Yes, you take him. He's around the squad and he learns about the training techniques and habits and what it takes to be an Australian cricketer. But if Head's going to open, is it any point him being there?
Nice fence it there.
I just answered your question.
What exactly happens? No, you didn't. You just said if. You didn't say if.
No. You're not listening. You're not listening. If they're going to use Sam, take him.
Yeah.
If they're not going to use him, is it better that he's back here playing cricket?
What would you do? Would you use him?
Well, no, he's not going to bat there. If they're going to use Usman and Head, well, what role will he play?
You just want him to play for New South Wales, so New South Wales can win a Shield.
Well, what you've got to remember is he's 19. He hasn't played much cricket. So you've got the selection issue with him. It's not black and white. There with someone so young.
Yeah.
Like he hasn't played 40 Shield crickets. He's still learning his craft there. He's got 200s at a venue that's never had a result on it at New South Wales. It's been a draw there. So he hasn't played all around the country yet. Is that more beneficial to his development to play as much cricket at that young age as he can? So I'm not sitting on just where he's going to fit in, because it's not like if you take a Beau Webster, for example, if he doesn't play Shield cricket and he doesn't play over there because of that's okay. He's an experienced cricketer. He comes back and he just flows on. But it's not a clear development path on what you're trying to do with someone that young. We haven't had someone that young around the team, and we've seen that he's made an impact. But yeah, I don't think it's clear on how they'll use him.
Here's a stupid theory for you, Hads, and we'll talk about it in the next couple of weeks before the Sri Lanka series. But if that first test match, like the ball turns likening to a Pythagoras theorem, where it's going sideways on day one, that we do a Pakistan, what they did in the most recent series in England, and open with two spinners and not even consider a paceman for the second test. Imagine that. Well, an Australian test cricket team without a quick.
Well, there's my theory on Cooper Conley. If that happens, Beau Webster plays and he might be the frontline quick. So it depends. You need option, and I heard they're taking 16, which will be a big squad, and you'll need a big squad depending on how they play. Josh Inglis, is he a chance to play?
Was he fit?
In a test match over there, the way he's one of the best players we have in the country of playing spin. Is there a scenario that he plays? He can bat anywhere around the order. He bats differently to spin than a lot of our other players in there. So, yeah, it's not a lot of thought will have to go into selecting this squad. And the one thing this Australian selection has done, they've thought outside the box for some time, so they'll have it under control.
Big style. Oh, well, we're looking forward to that. Hads, thank you for today's episode. It was a big chat.
It was a
Especially
good
with
chat.
Beau as well. Good to hear from Beau.
Yeah, mate.
And, it's time to get on to the powers that be about that World Test Championship tour. So, there you go.
Can't wait
Willow
for that
Talk on
show.
tour. Yeah,
Oh,
we
gee
could get some
whiz.
more trucker hats. Willow Talk on tour.
Yeah, maybe a
that?
shirt for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stubby holder.
No, I'm done with alcohol.
Thank you, Hads. Catch you soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.